With the book of Numbers, the story picks right back up. Remember, in the book of Leviticus, we slowed down and we saw details of the laws of how God's people were supposed to follow him and be obedient, how they would relate to him. Now, with the book of Numbers, the journey continues on. God's plan, God's perfect will for the nation of Israel was that the generation that was redeemed out of Egypt would obediently follow him on a short journey through the wilderness and take them to the land of promise, where they would then respond in faith, conquer the land, and live there in God's blessing. Sadly, though, the book of Numbers records the failure of that first generation. That generation that saw all that God had done in Egypt, had seen the 10 plagues, had seen God on Mount Sinai, had seen him provide water, had seen him provide manna and quail. They had seen him work. That generation disobeyed. That generation refused to follow God. In fact, the book of Numbers records a series of failures, a series of rebellion of the people. The central key rebellion is when God brings them to Kadesh Barnea. Moses sends the spies in to see the land. And when the spies return, 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, say, God is with us, let's go in and take it. But 10 spies say, no, the people there are too big, it's too hard, we can't do it. They put their eyes on themselves rather than on God. And so that first generation who had seen all of God's mighty works, they lost heart, lost faith, and prayed this awful prayer. We would to God that we would have died in this wilderness. And so they did. We get the name for the book of Numbers from the 2 genealogy list, the 2 times that the generations are numbered. What they tell us is this: the number from the first generation is almost completely replaced by the number from the second generation. God was taking that first generation as they wandered in the wilderness because of their rebellion. God was disciplining them, and they were burying them in the wilderness. And then the second half of the book is God preparing their children for obedience, preparing them to go in and take the land God had promised to their parents. And so at the end of the book of Numbers, it prepares us for the conquest when finally a generation will obey God and receive the land that he had promised Abraham and all of his descendants.